One. Leonardo da Vinci once said that it has long come to my attention that great people don't let things happen to them. Rather, they happen to things. Hello to our wonderful champion community. This is your favorite, handsome, and amazing host for being champions, Vaibhav Nahata. And together we're in a journey of exploring how we can become champion in our life. We have had wonderful guests in the past, and today's guest is just someone who's going to blow your mind. One of my very good friends, one of my very good elderly friends with me today is Chris. Chris, welcoming you with a really warm hug right there.
Oh, thank you, sir. I will return it in spades.
Thank you
There
so
you
much,
go.
Chris. Chris is an amazing human being. He went through a lot of physical challenges in his life, and yet right now, if you just check him out, if you talk to him, you'll see only one thing, that is optimism and gratitude of whatever he has. And at the same time, whenever you talk to Chris, you realize that this man is a jolly man. In fact, just yesterday, or day after yesterday, he ran a 5K with a suit on. That's interesting. Would you like to tell something about that before we get into the whole interview?
Definitely. Well, it was called the Shamrock Shuffle 5K. And
Okay.
obviously, with March, we're in the month of March, and the 17th is coming up. We in America love to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, even though most of us aren't Irish.
Right.
So, a local running store
Uh-huh.
set up the race,
Okay.
and I hadn't done any running races, running events in all of 2020, and
Right.
so I was really feeling the itch to run an event.
Uh-huh.
So I figured, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. I
Right.
hadn't trained really hard though
Right.
for a 5K, so I wasn't planning on winning. So I figured,
Hmm.
well, if I'm not planning on winning, I might as well have fun with it.
Right.
So I have an olive green suit,
Mm-hmm.
a white shirt, a gold colored tie, a
Okay.
black bowler cap,
Oh my
and
goodness.
shoots and black and white running shoes. So
Uh-huh.
I figured I'd just run as a leprechaun, and with my ginger foliage here, with my red beard, I figured out I would fit in. And
Right.
so it worked well. The weather was beautiful out. I mean, it was upper 30s, low 40s. So in a
Mm-hmm.
suit, I was nice and toasty.
Right.
As it turned out, I actually ended up finishing first. I don't call it
Wow.
winning because it was a fun run, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
I ended up finishing first. And the funny thing was,
Uh-huh.
is that I not only finished first in the 5K, I
Uh-huh.
also finished first in the 3.5 mile distance because I actually missed a turn and I
Mm-hmm.
ran farther than I should have. So
Very well. You must
I
have got
actually
a lot of
won two
awards for
distances at
that.
once.
You must
What's
have got
that?
a lot of awards for that.
I got some laughs, and it was
Right.
pretty fun. But it was just a nice group of people to run with, and like I said, a beautiful morning and a great first run, event to participate in. So it was a good
Very well.
time.
Very well, very well. Thank you so much, Grace. And the energy you see, the love you see, the gratitude, and you can see how this man stands with what his life is. Have you ever seen someone run with a tie and a suit? Well, we are hearing that right now. Well, Chris, as we go forward and discuss about all of your journey and all of that stuff, could you really talk about your journey, the challenges that you faced in terms of your disease? I know about it, and that makes me realize that you are a champion for a reason. But if you could go around, share about your journey a little bit, I'm definitely sure that the champions will be very, very inspired.
Certainly will, my friend. So in March 2015, so actually almost 6 years to the day,
Hmm.
I scraped the back of my right hand on my garage wall. And I didn't think too much of it. So as soon as I was able, I cleaned it out and I went upon my day. I teach online for a middle school here in Minnesota in the United States.
Right.
And so I teach from home, which is beautiful.
Hmm.
So 3 days later, I wake up and I see a lacrosse ball sized bump on my right elbow. Well, I go to the doctor and they say, well, we're not exactly sure what it is, but keep an eye on it. and just, come back or let us know if something happens.
Mm.
Well, over the next 10 hours, something did happen.
Okay.
That bump grew and grew and grew until it encompassed my entire right arm and shoulder. If you're familiar with the Incredible Hulk from the Marvel movies, I
Right.
look like the Incredible Hulk in mid transformation.
Right.
So obviously, that's not how I usually look. So after my wife Becky called a babysitter to watch our three young kids,
Mm-hmm.
she drove me to the emergency room in our
Mm-hmm.
local hospital, and they
Mm-hmm.
admitted me and they kept me overnight. They didn't know what was wrong with me, but they did know not only did I have a large, oversized arm, but I had also gone into this. I also had developed sepsis,
Mm-hmm.
which is when the body sends a chemical into the bloodstream to kill off infections. However,
Mm.
sepsis could also lead to septic shock and kill you itself. So I was
Damn.
in a little bit of trouble. Well, the next morning, that attending doctor told me that they could do nothing more for me. This problem
Mm-hmm.
was beyond them. So she asked me where I wanted to go. And
Mm.
so I immediately said the Mayo Clinic
Mm.
in Rochester, Minnesota, because it's one of
Mm.
the best hospitals in the world. And Becky's parents live in Rochester. So I knew
Mm.
that Becky and the kids could stay with her parents, for however long this would take. We had no idea. I was thinking 2 or 3 days.
Right.
I was really wrong on that. It took a lot longer. Well,
Okay.
they fly me to Rochester.
Mm.
They quickly admit me,
Mm.
and there they diagnosed me with necrotizing fasciitis, which is also known as flesh-eating bacteria,
Right. Right.
which in any language is very scary.
Mm.
So Latin or English, it's very scary.
Right.
So they quickly prepped me for surgery,
Mm.
and they had put me in a coma for 5 days.
Damn.
During that coma, they had basically filleted me. They took
Mm-hmm.
off the skin from my right arm, shoulder,
Mm.
chest, and back. The infection by
Mm.
Hub had actually gone to the base of my neck.
Okay.
And so after that first surgery, when they take off all the infected skin,
Mm-hmm.
they saw that the infection had gone so far into my right arm
Mm-hmm.
that they thought they would have to amputate.
Right.
Well, instead, well, actually, but before they did that, though, the
Mm.
occupational therapist who was in attendance in the surgery saw that it still had hand function.
Mm.
So what they elected to do was they removed a 40 centimeter by 10 centimeter flap of skin from
Mm-hmm.
my left thigh and placed
Mm.
it on my right hand and forearm.
Right.
And I joke that since this is my thigh on my hand, I
Mm.
call this my thand. So
Right. Right.
I'm gonna have to copyright that term. So not only did they take a chunk of skin out of my leg, but
Mm.
the wound was so large
Mm-hmm.
that they couldn't close it naturally. So they had to remove a muscle from my leg. The what they call the vastus lateralis. When you stand up and you see the muscle on the outside of your leg, outside of your thigh,
Mm-hmm.
they took that muscle out of there because they couldn't close the wound. And then they
Right.
had to put knobs, had to put like turning knobs on either side of the wound, and then put a Jacob's ladder, which is like a shoestring contraption, inside my wound so they could close it over time. And then to cover my exposed flesh, they had to extract skin grafts from my thighs and my back and eventually put them on my skin. So my upper body looked like I was a zombie from The Walking Dead. and
Hmm.
my bottom half looked like Frankenstein's monster with knobs sticking out of it. I was a total mess, brother.
Right,
I have to tell
right.
you. And it was, yeah, it was. If I were awake, I
Hmm.
would have been horrified. But luckily, I was out.
Hmm.
Everyone else had to deal with it, though. My wife and my brother, who flew in from another state, flew in from Michigan, were very scared for me, as was all my other family and friends. Well, I
Hmm.
finally wake up, spoiler alert, and I start learning about how my body and my
Hmm.
life have
Right,
changed.
right,
Because when I woke up, all my arm and my shoulder were in an enormous cast, and my leg was also wrapped up heavily. And I was also under a lot of painkillers. So sometimes I was hearing things I really wasn't actually hearing. I
uh-huh.
was seeing things I wasn't seeing. I was having hallucinations.
Right,
And so it was a really weird first few days. And I was trying to come to grips with my new reality. Well, before I really had a chance to let any negativity come in,
right,
Becky Becky started telling me about how people that we knew and people that were strangers to us were helping us out. They told us how people were donating money to us to help us out if we needed it, how our neighbors were shoveling our walkway and snow blowing our driveways because it was still winter here
right, right,
in Minnesota. They were donating money and food and toys to my family. My kids were at their grandparents' house for 2 weeks without any
right.
of their toys.
Hmm.
And so when Becky was telling me all of these wonderful things that people were doing for us, I
Hmm.
immediately was filled with such love and gratitude that I developed what I now call the attitude of gratitude because
Right.
I felt that if I were to become negative or angry or sad about anything that happened to me, that it would be a slap in the face to anyone
Hmm.
who stepped up to help us. And I know that no one would feel that way. I mean, they would understand if I were to become negative, but
Hmm.
I wanted to hold myself to a higher standard.
Wow.
I wanted to first of all get out of the hospital, and I knew that if I wanted to get out of the hospital, I needed to move forward, and the best way to move forward is with a positive attitude.
Right. That's
And so that's
quite a
what I chose to do.
story. Yes, Chris, that's quite a story. And the fact that you can laugh about it is, I read the other day that if you can laugh on the hardest time in the life, you are meant to be happy forever. And that's what I see for you. I mean, you went through so much. And how has your worldview perspective changed after that event, Chris? How do you see the world in a different way?
Well, brother, I have to tell you that it has really forced me in a good way
Mm-hmm.
to become a more level-headed person. I mean, I still have I still have my moments,
Mm-hmm.
but like when I see negativity online on Facebook or uh other social sites, that
Right.
and I see someone messaging something that I disagree with or
Mm-hmm.
something that would if I were to interject might start a long argument, that I
Hmm.
really find myself stepping back and saying, okay, what I have to say really helpful to the situation, or
Wow.
is this a situation I want to spend my time with?
Hmm.
Because I view time as being much more precious now,
That's right.
and I want to make sure that time is a commodity. Time is the only thing we can never get back. If you lose $100, you can eventually gain that $100 back through some way.
Right.
If you lose your phone, you could buy another phone. You can't buy back time. And so I want to make sure I use my time as wisely as I can. and getting into arguments with strangers on the internet is not a good use of my time. And so I use that as a way to force myself to think more positively.
Hmm.
And in terms of my body image, and let me show you just a little bit of what I got going on here. This is, some of the skin grafts I have. See how they go all the way to the back here.
Right.
And and so one way I've really used this is I've used it in cosplay, which is basically dressing up as characters. And if you have a second, I have a picture to show you.
Sure, please. My dear friends, if you can see from the whole journey, I see one thing, that's gratitude. And we have Chris back with the picture. Uh-huh.
Yes. So I'm not sure if you are familiar with the character Wolverine
I have
from.
heard of it. Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
All right. Well, this is me as Wolverine,
Wow.
and this is me, and this is my best friend David,
Huh.
who's dressed as another character, not as well known, called Doctor McNinja.
Okay.
Well, I as Wolverine, I pretended to cut off his hand, my friend's hand, and give it to this gentleman right here.
Uh-huh.
You may not recognize him at first, but he is actually Luke Skywalker from Star Wars.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Mark Hamill.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So my best friend and I met Mark Hamill,
Uh-huh.
and I pretended to cut off my friend's hand and give Mark Hamill the hand he lost in Empire Strikes Back. And you can see right there my skin grafts. Maybe you can see
Right.
my skin grafts and how I use them as part of my costume.
Hmm.
And and so also when I go running, especially when it's really hot, I like to run without a shirt, and it's not to, in a vain way, but I want to show people that they don't have to hide their scars.
Right.
Your scars are part of you,
Right.
and you should not try to hide them for anyone. I mean, for anyone else's benefit. And that's why a lot of times I will do things like that to show people, hey, you know what? We're all imperfect. All right. Pass on perfection. Perfection is, trying to go for long-standing perfection is futile.
That's what your
Instead,
t-shirt says.
yes, pass on perfection and go for greatness.
That's right, sir. That's right.
Because you might attain greatness once, you might attain perfection once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're confident and you're consistent and you're dedicated and you always try your best, you can always be great.
Very well, very well. Now, the other side of Chris is that he works with students with special needs. He helps students with autism. He helps students with learning difficulties into, discovering their world in a different way. And that's a difficult thing to do. That's a challenging thing to do because you have a bunch of kids who have a completely different perspective about the world, the way they are seeing the world. They're having a lot of challenges from the very beginning. How do you train them to think optimistic, constructive, and help them build a life forward over there?
Well, first I like to first learn about them,
Mm-hmm.
because every while a lot of kids like video games, not every kid does, and we can't always assume we know a kid just based on his or her grade level.
Right.
So I like to get to know them, and and also learn their strengths, and then from there, and also know their weaknesses. And then from there, I try to work with them and tie in their interests
Mm-hmm.
so they can, increase their strengths, but also build up their weaknesses.
Right.
In fact, I have a weekly Minecraft social skills group where we all log into a Minecraft server, and I set up a lesson plan for every week. And so we get in there and we work on a social skill
Mm-hmm.
while we're building in Minecraft, doing some kind of project.
Right. So many of you might not know what a Minecraft is. Minecraft is a very popular video game right there. And playing while learning, that's what you do over there.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Minecraft is digital Legos. I
Right.
like to think, because you're working with blocks, you're building with blocks, and there are all kinds of different blocks you can use, and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of different contraptions. And so it's very expansive. And so it's a lot of fun for those kids.
Right. Finally, over there, would you like to just put down a story of a student that you helped and how your help impacted their life, or how they got a different worldview with it?
Certainly. Well, I have a student. I'm going to call him B because I like to, I don't like to say students' names on recording,
That's
but
right.
B came to me over 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and when my colleagues told me or learned that I had B on my caseload, they were telling me all these horror stories about how difficult he might be and all this. Well, I meet him, and he's definitely unique, which all students are.
Uh-huh.
But we start bonding, and I learned that he likes Minecraft, so that works. And so we can use the Minecraft social skills group.
Right.
And I also, I learned other things about him. And over the past 3 years, this is my third year working with him, he has really come a long way. He used to really struggle
Mm-hmm.
with doing lessons, with doing lessons in his classes, and now he completes all his lessons every week, every school week. He also used to not like Disney
Mm-hmm.
because one time he was watching a Disney show and they canceled it, and
Oh.
so in his mind it was a Disney show. All Disney's bad. Don't talk to me about Disney. And at one point, I remember when we started working with each other, I said something about Disney, and he left the room. I mean, his mom told me, "Oh, he went in his room. You mentioned Disney." Well, now not only do we joke about him not liking Disney, he bought his mother bought him a subscription on of Disney Plus, which is the Disney streaming service, so he could watch the first season of The Mandalorian, which is a
Wow.
Star Wars show. We both
Right.
like Star Wars. And so now we're talking about that, where a couple years ago he would have not even considered the thought of that. And so it's very exciting to see him blossom and grow into this amazing person. And yes, we still have struggles to deal with, and still have mountains to climb, but he is better equipped to for the climb than he was 2 years ago because of the work he's put in.
Well, Chris, thank you so much as we move in the final part of the interview. Thank you so much for the impact you're bringing on the world. These little stories like that of your student B, and most importantly, your journey. And one more final question: if there are so many challenges in terms of your muscles getting out and all that stuff, does doctor allow you to run through them? You running a 5K, something that's I had run a half marathon, and it got me nuts. Surely.
Actually, when I was meeting my plastic surgeon for the first time after my discharge, I asked him, well, what are my limits here? What can
Mhm.
I not do? And he looked at me and said, Chris, you're the first marathoner I have ever met who's ever contracted necrotizing fasciitis.
Right.
You tell us what you can't do.
Wow.
And so I took that as a challenge to say, okay, let's see. And so I've done adventure races. I've run a few half marathons. Actually, I've set or tied 4 personal running records. One of those
Nice.
being a half marathon. And I now have a long term goal of qualifying for the Boston Marathon. I'm
That's
giving myself
amazing.
9 years because it's going to take me a while to build up my endurance base. So I mean, yes, I can't stretch my arm as far as I can, the left arm. My right arm can't stretch as far, but I work with what I got. I do the best that I can, and I just go for it. And I
Well,
think that, by again, passing on perfection and going for greatness, I know if I stay consistent and determined that I can indeed achieve greatness.
indeed, passing for perfection and going for greatness and gratitude is what we're taking from this interview. This, interview was something I was doing for this TV show, but meanwhile, I got so many learnings right there. I mean, there's no struggle any bigger, there's no challenge even bigger. And my dear friends, if you ever feel like you're facing any challenge in life, and that could be a reason of you not achieving something big, just go out there and find out. There are thousands and millions of people who have had the same challenges like you and made it. So your chances of making it are as huge as that, and that's what Chris is an example of. Talk about diseases, right? You go through so many physical challenges, there are challenges, and then you come back 4 years down the line laughing about it and how that made you a better person. Well, thank you so much, Chris, once again for joining in. This is a high five right there, and a lot of gratitude. Thank you so much for joining. And this is what we do while we end our show, Chris. Whenever I ask you who are we take our right hand towards the top and shout out, "We are champions." Sounds cool?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Okay, on the count of three, two, and one. Who are we? Oh
Champions.
yeah, we are champions. Thank you so much, Chris. Is there any final note that you'd like to give?
Yes, if anyone wants to reach out to me and find out what I'm doing, I have a number of different projects I'm doing. They can go to linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon. That's linktr.ee/Chris CHRISDTGORDON.
Right.
And that's where I have my podcasts called Scar Bears, my YouTube channel, a book. I linked to a book I helped write this past year, my online store, my Facebook, Instagram, all kinds of different things, and also my speaking websites because I am currently seeking speaking engagements.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, once again. And remember, my dear champions, pass on perfection and go for greatness, and always be gratitude for what you have and what you want to have in life. This is Vaibhav Nahata signing off.